Welcome, ladies, to the Real Estate Investor Show, providing inspiration, strategies, and insight to empower women investors to live balanced and financially free lives. Now, here are your co-hosts, Liz and Andressa.
So in today's episode, ladies, we have Codie Sanchez. She's a partner in various business, really has started and built equity firm that is pretty much deploying $200 million into 65 businesses. So this woman knows what she's doing when it comes to buying and selling businesses. And that's what we talk about today. She shares the staggering statistics that there's over 2.5 million small businesses. And there is such an opportunity right now with everything going on in our world to buy a business, to buy a small business. And often we think we don't know anything about the business. What are we going to buy? And we feel overwhelmed by it. But she gives some great suggestions, specific suggestions on how to get started today. So you don't miss out on this really amazing time to diversify your portfolio in the right way.
And if you're listening to us, you're probably saying, wait a second, I am a real estate investor. What the hell you're talking about, right? I already have a lot on my plate. How can I really even think about buying a business? And what I really enjoy about Codie is that she breaks down the evaluation of a business the same way that we evaluate real estate. And it's also a mindset situation. Instead of us, the narrative that we have in our head that we are seeing, we're only quote unquote, only real estate investors. Instead of that, she opens up the possibility of us being managers of portfolios, which it requires basically is the same recipe. And I'm not going to talk about this recipe now. You got to listen to the episode to see what she puts in place in order for her to be able to run herself several businesses at the same time. This is a great episode, and I can't wait to hear from you. Take a look, take a listen, and let us know what you think. Enjoy.
Welcome back, ladies. This is Liz.
And this is Andressa.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Investor Show, where we are on a very big mission, a global mission, to empower women to live a financially free and balanced life, right? Whatever balance means to you, doesn't mean you're going to be totally zened out, or, it might just mean that you're actually taking time for all the areas of your life.
True.
So welcome back, ladies. We are so excited to have you back. We know there's a lot of things you could be listening to and consuming, and we just appreciate you being back on this journey with us, where we interviewed some amazing women that either focus on real estate investing, business, or self-care. And today's guest is one of our absolute favorite guests she was our keynote at our virtual summit last year. Such an amazing person. If you are not on her newsletter, you need to be. She's doing such amazing things. Codie Sanchez, thank you for being on our show, and thank you for making time to be with us today.
Nowhere else I'd rather be.
Awesome. We are so pumped to get into what she's going to be talking about, which was by far one of the highest regarded sessions we had at our virtual summit last year. So we're excited to have Codie back on here on our podcast and share with all you beautiful women listening of what other strategies in terms of investing you could be getting into, which we'll get to in a moment. But as we always like to do, we like to just connect with all of you. We can't see you, but we see you virtually, if you will, and we want to connect with you. Something that's coming up for us, one quick tip, strategy, so you can apply it in your life and you can keep moving on your path of creating financial freedom for yourself. So Andressa, you have this week's tip or something you want to share, or just a life lesson you want to share. So what do you got?
Yes, I always think that all my tips starts with, okay, I'm now reading this book. And then, I have like tons of books I'm reading, but this is not going to be different. If you were expecting something different, that's not going to be different. So I'm reading this book called A Vivid Vision, and I've read different things about goal settings and how SMART goals, dream goals, whatever. I've done that, right? But I read something on this book that I didn't hear it anywhere else. And I want to share with you guys. And first of all, very easy reading, super powerful exercise for your business. Doesn't matter if you're small, large, doesn't matter. Take a quick look. One thing that talks about your personal vision. They first start with the business vision, which is amazing, and then they go to the personal vision. And then the author was encouraging the readers to think about, okay, if you had an extra day in your life, what would you be doing with this extra day? And I was like, oh, if I had an extra day, what would you be doing? And then I put on paper. And that's exactly what he recommends. Put on paper, and then your goals, overall goals, focus on what's in that day over there. Because you're going to be fulfilling your soul. That's your core, right? It does not. I recommend you to think, okay, I just want to sit down at the beach and have margarita all day long. That's it, right? So you start buying margaritas. I'm not saying that, but really like go there. Think about if you had like an extra day, what would you be doing? What areas of your life? Think as like a holistic way, right? All your roles as a mother, as a friend, as a girlfriend, as a wife, as a business partner, what would you be doing with your day? So I thought was very neat, and it sparkled something in me that was like, okay, I don't have this extra day, but I'm gonna use that and kind of sprinkle throughout my week, because that's what brings joy to me. And it's not about the destiny, right? People say not about the destiny, it's about the journey. And I do think that when you sprinkle those things that you really enjoy, you make the journey super fun. And if it is not, we're doing something off, right? So that's my tip for the day.
I love it, because people always talk about the perfect day, right? Write down your perfect day. But I love the extra day. And I'm reading that along with Andressa. We're actually building our vivid vision for Investor. And I'm probably a chapter behind Andressa, which is the likelihood of but she's like done with the book. And I'm like, I'm like chapter 1, but that's okay. But good stuff. So take that into your world, ladies. So without further ado, we could literally have this podcast with Codie, and an 8-hour time frame probably wouldn't be enough with this woman, because she's very brilliant. As you heard in her bio that we just shared, our intro with all of you. So we always like to do, Codie, I'm talking you up here. You Andressa and I are like two of your biggest fans. What would you say at Codie? And we always ask women what propelled them to get involved in real estate investing. Your niche is obviously building, buying and building businesses. So I'm going to ask it from that perspective. So what propelled you to really to get into this world of equity from a buying and building business perspective? What propelled you there?
Yeah, two things. One was I hate being told what to do, and I'm a terrible employee from that standpoint. So, so the first thing is I don't mind advice, and I actually love it. I love constructive criticism. I love feedback. But what I found oftentimes as an employee is you don't do things because they're the right thing to do. You do that because they're just what you're told to do. And, if you've ever seen that Diane Keaton movie with like her and her daughter, and she says to her daughter, do this or this. And then when her daughter asks why, she says, because I said so. And I hate those words in corporate America. And I heard them all the time when I was at Goldman and State Street and Vanguard and these big firms. And I'm like, wait a second, I can make you millions over here, but you want to do this. Why? Never a good answer, because I said so. So one, I said, I don't like that. I don't want to spend my life doing something that's irrational because somebody else thinks that they need to do it, because the boss ahead of them thinks that they need to do it, but nobody really understands. And then two, we're talking to women here. So it's pretty hard to get a CEO position. Ain't that many getting handed out, right? So, unfortunately, we don't have the 19th hole at the country club. We don't have a legacy of people that will give us CEO positions. And so I wanted one for myself. And what I found is I did a couple startups, and those did okay. I sold one. That was pretty good. I headed a couple big businesses, but I wanted to be a CEO. I wanted to be the owner of a business, and I wanted to be the owner of a meaningful business, 7 or 8 figures. We could all say we're a CEO and founder of a little business, but that to me didn't feel like the real thing. So when I realized that I could buy a business using loans and other people's money and become a CEO, not have to hear the because I said so anymore, and walk into 7 or 8 figures of revenue, I was like, game over. Why didn't they teach me this earlier? And so those were the 2 reasons why. I wanted to be a CEO, and I hate doing things because people say that you should.
I know that person too. So I can dissect that in so many different ways. So let's dissect the business portion of it for the ladies that are listening it. And we're going through a pandemic still, hopefully be done soon, right? And when they think about what's going on with businesses around, and they're like, okay, how can I possibly evaluate? I understand the benefits of investing in real estate, but I don't understand. It's not my thing in terms of businesses. Do I need to know about HVAC in order to buy an HVAC business? Like, I don't like it. So it sounds daunting, right?
Yep.
So how would you break that down?
Yeah, well, it's a great question. So first of all, the first thing that you got to do, we were just talking about this beforehand, but the first thing you have to do is realize that, first of all, there are 2.5 million businesses in the US that are for sale right now. If you went and met with those 2.5 million business owners, I think you'd realize a couple things. One, you're probably smarter than a lot of them. Two, the things that they do aren't really that complicated. Three, all the businesses have echoes. So the beautiful part about business is once you understand the foundation of a business, everything rhymes. It's like when you hear a rap song, you know that it's a rap song. You might not know the words to it, but you kind of know the beat, right? And the beat of businesses and small businesses is, do you know how to handle a profit and loss statement? Do you know what it means to have cash flow? Do you know how to run employees? Do you know how to lead people? Do you know how to create standard operating procedures? And if you know those 5 things, then you apply those 5 things to almost any widget that you do, any business. So I've run a business that's a podcast production business, cannabis businesses, distribution businesses. Let's see what else. Media businesses, newsletter businesses. I mean, I've had 17 different active businesses in my portfolio. And it's not because I'm super smart or super qualified on this, or that I'm good at numbers. I'm in finance. I actually hate the financial part. I outsource all of that. But the biggest key is just, can you see the rhythm? And do you believe that you're capable? And if you go into this and say, okay, I can buy a house or a multifamily unit using multiple hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars in other people's money, AKA a mortgage, right? Or seller financing, you can do the exact same thing for a business. Now, when you buy a house, do you always know how to fix the plumbing and the electrical and the HVAC and the roof? And, right? You don't know how to do it all, but you do know one thing. You know how to source, and you know how to figure out if somebody's going to fit from a budget perspective. It's the same thing in these small businesses. And so you want to make sure that you don't invest in anything or buy something that's hyper complex, like a biotech company that's doing $2 million in revenue and you don't understand how. But all these small services businesses, they're very easy to understand. And the beautiful part is they're usually super outdated. Like, we're talking fax machines and dial-up phones. And so you can apply these 21st century ideas on top of them.
Yeah, I love that. It's like, the adage of what we talk a lot, so much in real estate, is value add, right? And, in real estate, investors don't want to buy anything retail, right? They don't, unless that's your business model where you just want a turnkey, you don't want to deal with anything. There's something to be said for that, but you're going to be paying more of a premium and not getting maybe as much on the return side. But at least you're getting into, businesses probably, and you're the expert tremendously more than I am, but there's a piece to that, what you just said in terms of adding value. And it's the same type of adding value that you would be doing to a duplex. I mean, we when we bought our a 50 unit, we said, oh, what kind of online marketing are you doing to promote the vacancies? Oh, we don't do anything online. How do you get new tenants? We with the sign that says for rent right there. This is a 50 unit building, right? We're not talking a mom and pop, like, single family. This is literally 50 units, and it was a beautiful building. Like, what? Like, but then in our heads, we're like, opportunity, 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 right? So again, as real estate people, we know this in our world. But to your point, I love what you're saying, because it seems like it's so applicable to business. What do you think, Codie? I mean, you talk to a lot of people, and you work with, you see this with women too. Like, what do you think stops women from, transitioning into owning and operating and getting into the space of, because it's such an opportunity right now. Like you just said, 2.5 million businesses. I don't know what % of those are struggling. I'm sure but there's an opportunity right now in our time in history, right? So what do you think is stopping, especially women, because that's who we serve, taking the leap or taking a step towards this?
I think it's the knowledge gap. It's honestly the fact that people don't know about this. I mean, imagine before there were podcasts like yours about real estate, before there was Bigger Pockets, before anybody started teaching people how to do multifamilies or single family investing, you just had to see the opportunity and think, wait a second, there's some weird arbitrage situation here where there's a difference in the common narrative and your common sense, right? And that's what I focus on every day at Contrarian Thinking in my newsletter, is trying to find the disconnect between the narrative and the numbers. Where's the disconnect? And so in buying small businesses, I truly believe this will be as commoditized and as normalized as buying single family and multifamily units in 10 years. We are just that early to it. And let me tell you why. Because you can go out right now and you can get a loan. And you can get a loan from the government for 90% of the purchase price of a business. So for instance, I am in Austin, Texas today. I am looking at a digital marketing company. Everybody needs digital marketing, right? So they build websites, they do social media, they do like back end stuff for companies. This company is doing $850,000 in revenue, and they're making $497,000 in profit. They have almost 50% profit margins. Wow. I'm going to buy this company that's making almost $500,000 in revenue for $1 million. So I will be break even on this business in 2 years. And I'm going to do it with a loan from the SBA that will pay me $900,000. So that means that I have $100,000 that I have to figure out about how to fund this business. I'm going to just use my own cash for this business. But if I didn't have cash, I would get investors to help me with it. And or for a business like this, I can also do seller financing. So I'm still not sure I'm not going to do that with them. But with seller financing, you can say, okay, I'm going to put down the $100,000 for the SBA loan. But then you, seller, I want you to give me, $33,000 over a 3-year period that I will pay you out for that additional $100,000 so that I can essentially get the business for $0 down. So if you just think about the numbers for a second and don't ask yourself, can I do this? But you just look at the numbers, that blows out of the water almost any investment that you could make in hard assets like real estate. You cannot make $500,000 on an $890,000 property in a year. You can't do it. You cannot have a break even inside of 2 years. And the reason that you can't is because it's a competitive world. People are figuring out how to do this. But in small business land, nobody knows that there's sort of like a 9-step process that you can follow to do this exact same thing. And the other part that I really like is I don't actually buy businesses typically that are turnarounds, that are like what you would call a fix and flip, right? Or like where you have to go in there and do a bunch of work in it and sell it, right? I buy businesses that are profitable and doing well already, and I buy them at their profit level today. Now, if I can add additional stuff on top of it, that's just gravy. But I don't ever pay for the idea that I might be able to make more in the future because I don't have to, because there's not competition. And then something like digital marketing, I buy that kind of business because I know how to run it. I know a lot about social media. I know a lot about websites. I don't know how to create them, but I know other people that do. And I have a guy that's going to run the business for me, just like you would have a property manager that manages your property. And so that's the game today.
I think it's a great point that you're saying that you buy for what the value is right now. And that's something I'm just highlighting this right now because in real estate it's a little crazy out there. People are not buying for that reason. They're buying for the appreciation that they believe is going to happen in the future, which is a gamble, right? You're gambling right there. If you're good to go. But one thing that I want to go back to what you said about the narrative, right? I've seen it and I hear a lot about this story that women tell, like, I am a real estate investor. This is it, as if that's who they are, period. There's nothing else to be done. Or I am a flipper, I am a builder, I am a developer. And I think I love what you're saying, that it's like, okay, let's break that barrier, right? You're an entrepreneur. And there's like so many options that you can break down your recipe and just change the flavors basically and make whatever cake you want, whatever. I don't make cakes. So, but this is like the narrative, how the women can break that mindset. Because sometimes it's just like, oh, I know. Okay, you know, but you still don't do it. So is this like something unconscious in our minds, or how can we break that?
Well, I think what you ladies are doing is so important because they see you achieving it and they realize that they can. And I think that's why I like to talk about this so much. I don't make we sell a course at Unconventional Acquisitions where you can, for $500, you can learn every single thing you needed to know about how to buy a business. The due diligence templates are in there. The marketing templates are in there. The outreach to owners is in there, everything. And then if you want hand holding, there's a mastermind that's like $2,500 or something dollars. And we go through deals every single week. So you can buy those two things. But the money that we make off of that business, and that'll be $1 million a year business, is like, that's nothing compared to what we make on the businesses that we buy. So I could just go and keep buying my businesses and do what you guys do in real estate, which is make all of your money off of the real, producing assets that you make. But I said, we have a goal. We want to make 100,000 small business owners this year because we think that small businesses are in this huge generational wealth transfer, and who's buying them all? The big companies. We think it should be the little guys buying them. I don't want more Starbucks. I want more local coffee shops. And so we started this with that goal. I love making money on top of it. I want it to be profitable, but it is not how we make money. So the reason that I do it is because I think if other women hear me, I'm 34 years old, I don't know anything about professional services like HVAC or a laundromat that I own, and I can do this business, then it means that other people can do it too. So I think you need the example. I think you need the knowledge. And then you just need to hear enough people with specifics on how they did it and see it live for yourself to believe you can. And we have a ton of real estate investors in our mastermind because they're doing exactly what you did. They're like, this is my game. I'm good at it. I own this portfolio of assets. Now, because the market's at all-time highs, how can I make that portfolio more diversified in an unconventional way? And the way I think that you do that is you buy ancillary businesses that support your real estate portfolio. You have what I call a portfolio of small bets. I think this is the smartest thing that you could do in investing overall right now, because look around you. The world is changing faster than ever. So if all you have is one type of revenue stream, you could have lots of revenue streams, but one type, you could be in trouble because things change really fast today. And so that is the key.
Absolutely. And let's go there. So the small bets, right? Is there like a top 5 preference of business that we should be focusing on, and a couple that we should be putting aside? How do you differentiate? What are like your criteria to defining like what are the business that I should be focusing on?
Yeah, well, here, let me tell you first the ones I don't buy. No restaurants. Hard businesses go out of business all the time. No hotels. That's basically a real estate play. No drop shipping businesses. Amazon changes their algorithm and they go out the window. So I don't do those types of businesses either. No retail stores, no clothing stores or anything like that are hard brick and mortar assets. It's too hard of a business and the rent takes up too much of your profit. And then the other type of business I don't buy is consulting businesses. Too people heavy of a business and often tied to the founder being the rainmaker and bringing in clients. Those 5, see you later, bye. The type of businesses that I do like are boring businesses. I mean, think about how Warren Buffett made his money. He didn't make his money doing sexy things. He made his money doing things like railroads, boring. He made his money doing things like land acquisition, boring, super boring. And so when I say that, some of the businesses that I really like overall is, like I said, I like digital marketing agencies. I just bought one of those because you can, Liz, for your 50 unit property, if you had a digital marketing agency, you just plug that into the ecosystem and you'd get motoring. And then you'd plug real estate investor into it and you'd get motoring. And you have unfair advantage from scale, right? And then the other thing that I think is important is looking at businesses that are in your local community. Like I like building my local community. So that's why we own a laundromat. it's close by. That's why we own businesses that are like landscaping, HVAC, which means heating and air conditioning businesses. We've looked at pest control businesses. These are the businesses that no matter what's going on in a pandemic, they're recessionary resistant because everybody needs their lawn to be continued to clipped. Maybe you don't have as high of a user base at the time. Everybody has some sort of laundry that they have to get cleaned. So as the world continues to get crazy, you have a buffer.
Love that. And I love the idea of building in a business or buying a business that is going to benefit your existing investments so your costs can go down. And I know you said this in one of your talks that just look at your P&L statement. Where are your highest expenses and how can you offset that? And that rung true. I was like, whoa, that's what a powerful yet simple suggestion. And I think that's what you're saying, right? It doesn't have to be this complexity that we just can't get our heads around, right? Where are you spending the most money? And especially if you're getting to scale and you're getting into larger multis, because that's, your some of your bills that like a single family might charge is so different, right? When you are in scaling of units, because, 200 times X will cost a lot of money,
Might as well rent a room for the HVAC guys. just stay there.
And I think it's this creatively looking at, it's like, when you drive to work, I always heard this on a podcast. They said, drive a different way. And I'm like, at first you think it's kind of like stupid. Like, why wouldn't I go the same way I'm always going? Because it's easier and quicker. But to take that suggestion is so helpful, right? You go another way and then you just see things you didn't see before. To your point, like how can women today, right, take what you're saying and look at what their current portfolio is, their current businesses are, and look at it like so differently. Because I think that's what you're saying, at least what I've gathered by all your amazing resources and teachings, which I so appreciate. Is that we have to look at things a little differently. I think you use an unfair advantage or, just turning it upside down. So look at the women listening, they have a portfolio, or they're doing fix and flips or wherever they are in their real estate investing career. What are some of those initial steps, right? There's like a few steps they could take right now to maybe look at things a little differently to propel 100%. Them in this venue.
Well, I think the first thing you should do is go sign up to contrarianthinking.co. That's my newsletter. And if you go to contrarianthinking.co, you're going to see a slew of different blog posts that break down all the different ways that you can invest in businesses. It's free. Then if you go to unconventionalacquisitions.com, apparently we like vowels. There's a lot of them in there. But if you go there, there's also a free newsletter. And in that free newsletter, you'll get on a drip campaign that basically has something like 52 different emails in it. And each one, it's not trying to sell you anything. Of course, there's like some sells something at the bottom of them. But each one is basically telling you like, here's how you buy a laundromat. Here's how you buy an HVAC. Here's why you should think about them. Here's how you get an SBA loan. All the sort of particulars about it. So I would say go and sign up for those two things. And then the other thing that I think is the most important part for anybody listening is, start to think about yourself as a portfolio manager instead of an individual expert. So if you start to just like consider yourself as, okay, my job, if I was to invest in the stock market and I invested in one stock only ever, that might freak me out in my 401k or in my E-Trade account or whatever. But if instead I have a financial advisor or I have myself and I have a bunch of mutual funds and ETFs and I have lots of individual securities, I feel more diversified and safe. Now, the question then becomes, think about yourself as a portfolio manager in your actual revenue streams. Are you diversified? And if you're not, the question is, how do you just start thinking about interesting ways to change up your revenue? I think a good place to start is what you said, Liz. Look at your individual P&L. So where do you spend money? Look at the type of businesses that you're interested in. Like, I like to reach out to individual businesses that I like. I just reached out to a newsletter that I subscribe to and said, like, hey, have you ever considered selling your business? Like, literally start looking at everything you consume and everything that intrigues you and just say like, I wonder if they're small enough where I could buy them. And then just start having those conversations. What it's going to be like as you start thinking of yourself as a deal maker and a business acquirer, what happens is people see you in a completely different light. It's the difference between saying, I bought a real estate house and I'm a real estate investor. I'm an investor. You're doing the same thing. I'm a deal maker. I'm a business buyer. And you just start asking people about their businesses. Have you ever thought about selling? Oh, no, you haven't? Well, that's interesting. I'm actually looking to buy a business. be kind of interesting for us to just have a conversation about what that might look like. And what you'll find, I did that with the person that produces one of the podcasts that one of my companies runs. I just said, this is kind of a cool business. So wait, you charge me $2,000 a month to do the podcast and do all this back end stuff. You have 25 clients. Wait a second. That's actually like a pretty sweet little business there. What are you doing to grow it? Have you ever thought about selling a percentage of that or selling the business overall? Because I might be interested in buying. And so as you start asking those questions, your whole worldview is going to change. And so that's what I'd start doing. The other thing that I think is useful is go to like bizbuysell.com or empireflippers.com or Flippa with 2 P's, Flippa. And on there are businesses for sale to every day. And start messing around to take 20 minutes a day and start messing around with the different types of businesses you can buy. And you're going to be amazed. You're going to see businesses that you can buy for $5,000 that are cash flowing $15,000 a year. It's just they take some work and these people don't want to work on them anymore. They have some other business. I just sold one of my businesses for like $25K. It was a little newsletter that I didn't want to keep anymore. I sold it on Flippa.
I love that. And, I think a lot of the women are listening, and I could also speak personally, you start something, you're running it, so that the idea of like owning something and not operating is a growth for people, right? So we're not all just running around owning things, but not operating them. And I think as you grow and you're like, okay, I don't need to be doing all of this myself. Like you have to, there's a trajectory. Some people are amazing at it. They just own businesses and they don't operate them. Others are learning that like, okay, hold on, I can't operate everything I own. So for the women listening that, have kind of built everything themselves. I could speak personally, like everything I've been involved in, we've been involved very, what's the word? Intrinsically, very hands-on, if you will.
Yeah.
So we're getting to this point, my husband and I have these conversations as well. It's like, I don't want to operate everything anymore. And we have to think differently to be that, right? You have to, even beyond real estate. So the women listening that are in those throes where everything they have, everything they've built, and it could be a great business, they've done themselves, they've operated themselves. What do they need to think about, or what do they need to like prepare themselves for? How do they best prepare themselves for so they don't get trapped again? Because I think that's also what stops women. Like, I don't want to operate that. I don't want to have to go there every day.
Yeah.
But it's just the thinking, like you're going to need to do that. You're going to have to do stuff, but I don't know. I think that's something that hangs me up, to be perfectly frank, because I do think about the operation part. So what maybe different ways of thinking, different strategies, maybe buying a business that you can't operate because it just forces you to figure it out, right? I don't know what you might suggest there.
It's in Hawaii, so you can't.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, so the way that I've done it is I typically buy businesses like that with a partner. So for instance, unconventional acquisitions. We've bought a few businesses inside of our little unconventional acquisitions landscape. I don't run that business. My partner, Ryan Snow, runs the business. Ryan had capacity. I have too many businesses I run. So I committed, and this is where it's really important. One, come in with a co-founder, come in with a partner who maybe they don't have the money, or maybe they have more time than you do, and structure it so that they're the one running it from the beginning. The important part is that you have expectations and milestones outlined for them, that you have clear roles and responsibilities outlined, and that we as women like to say yes to too much. I do this all the time. And so you have to make sure that instead of saying yes, that you set expectations. And the part that will be tough for you is that we women can be people pleasers, right? And so your business they want everything from you because you're smart, you're capable. Those are rare things. So the only part that is hard, in my opinion, finding a co-founder is fine. Setting roles and responsibilities is fine. Being okay with somebody else wanting more from you, but you being like, nope, sorry, I'm not going to do it. Here's what I'm doing. And I'm taking the 50% revenue share from it because we built this together and that's the way it goes. And no, I'm not engaging in it every day. So the best thing that you're going to learn is roles and responsibilities and no. But I would come in with a co-founder and or invest in a business with the 40 to 50% profit share that's already running. There are plenty of people, and you do it on a rev share profit sharing basis. Don't do this equity 0% loan for 30 years in the hopes that they exit nonsense. Instead, make sure that you come into a business and you can help them with certain things or invest in them, but you co-rev share. And a way to do that would be like, for instance, you guys know David Osborne and Aaron Muchastegui. They bought Roddy's List, a foreclosure business that is a list of all the foreclosures out there. Well, David went in 50%. David doesn't do anything with the business. He just gave half the capital. Aaron runs and oversees the business, but they actually have an underlying operating partner. So David's got it really figured out. He's sitting at the top. He just collects checks. Aaron kind of manages the manager of the business. And then this guy runs the day to day. And so the cool part about buying a business is when you have a startup, unless you have a ton of money, it's hard to be like, okay, I'm going to pay this person $75,000 or $100,000 to operate this business. But if you buy a business that's doing $500K, hey, that's easy.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that will be a CEO of a business for $100,000. And so you've just given yourself leverage.
Exactly. As Liz and I grow our company now, right? For the past 3 years, we have been stepping out. I think that, for the last year, we have stepped out really because there's no other way. We're growing and we are expanding and investing in different projects, investing our time and our funds and leveraging everything. And that's exactly what you're saying. Anything that we are engaging with other people, first, we need to really align ourselves, right? Find other people that we align. And we don't want to be running. We don't want to be like all the time there. We just don't have the capacity nor the desire to do that. One thing that I want to talk to you before we go in a different page, the mindset. You sound beyond confident and straight shooter. Was always like that or not? Because women, and I can, it's not my question, but I've been the way that I've been forever. I asked my mom, was that like that as a kid or did something change? Right. So when women come and say like, listen, you sound like straight up and confident about taking the leap or doing things, like how can you do that? And I want to ask your opinion on this. Where do you get your confidence from?
Well, to be fair, I've been told my whole life, and I'm sure people can relate to this, that I'm not capable enough. As a woman, I've spent most of my career on Wall Street and in private equity, where people still to this day, one of my partners at a fund used to call me kiddo all the time. I was 32. I'm like, kiddo,
Gosh,
Yeah, I've had my, ass slapped. I've been told to get coffee, instead of lead the meeting, which I was there to do. So there are going to be people who try to tell you you're not capable of things all the time. And I think my response to that was probably to put on more false bravado, than I had. Was like, okay, project because these people are sharks, right? But don't get me wrong. I have disbelief and concerns and questions constantly. I just do the thing anyway. So I'm like freaked out, and I don't know if it's going to work out, but I do know that nobody's probably going to work harder than I am. And so I just keep doing it anyways, keep doing it anyways. And I think that's the goal. As long as you keep taking action every single day, things usually work out okay. And so that's what I would say for women. Just take the action. And no, I'm not confident in every deal that we've done. I've definitely lost a ton of money in deals. But when you have a portfolio of bets, that's okay, because I'm not putting all my eggs in a singular basket. And I don't think that they should either. And the last thing I'll say is, if the reason you're not doing this is threefold: 1, you don't think you're capable; 2, you don't think you have time; or 3, you're scared that you don't want to operate the business. Those are the wrong reasons. If any of those 3 reasons are why you're not doing this today, you're missing out. If the reason is you look at the numbers and you don't think the numbers are interesting enough for you, totally fair. If you can make more money, if your goal is financial freedom, more money in something else, don't do it. But if it is any of those 3 other reasons, then you're holding yourself back, in my opinion, from a really big opportunity, and we won't have it again in a couple years.
That's a great point. Love it. Codie, you always have so much great knowledge to share. I always feel like I learn just as much as all the women that, are going to be listening to this. So where can the ladies listening to this learn more about you and connect with you?
I think the best place is contrarianthinking.co. I'm Codie Sanchez on Instagram, Codie Sanchez, Sanchez. And then if you want to buy a business, go to unconventionalacquisitions.com, get on the newsletter, and just start listening. So I think for you all specifically, with a code, InvestHer25, which is 25% off everything. So ladies, get in the game.
That's right. And all this information you guys can find on our show notes. Don't miss this opportunity. Now we're going to transition to our fabulous 3 questions. And the first one, Codie, is what's the most transformational book you have ever read?
I think this is like controversial, but Atlas Shrugged. Specifically, not for the political portion, but because it's a super strong female lead character who kind of said, screw you to everybody else and kept doing the thing that sang her like a siren song. And she did it in business and she was unapologetic about it.
There you go. The second question is, which is the most powerful routine that you do to create a financially free and balanced life?
Take action. Every single day, I try to take some forward action on financial freedom. And when something scares me, I write it down. And if it scares me for a reason that's related to me being small, incapable, not having the time, any of the things I mentioned, I do it anyway. If it's that I'm scared for a real reason, like risk or strategy or uncertainty, that's okay. But if it's because I'm playing small, I say nope.
And the last question is, which women, famous or not, has inspired you the most?
Oh, that's a good one. I like women that speak their minds. I'd probably have to go to like a series of like leading politicians, like Sandra Day O'Connor, who was one of the first Supreme Court justices. She used to carry a gun and ride horses and rewrite legislation in the country. I kind of like
badass.
Love it. Codie, thank you so much for sharing all your wonderful wisdom and knowledge with our community. We appreciate you and appreciate your time so much.
Thanks for having me. This was a blast, ladies. Let's do it again.
Thank you so much. If you enjoyed this podcast and want to receive updates on our next interviews, go to our website, therealestateinvestor.com. There, you can subscribe to our show, become part of our investor community, and get updates on upcoming episodes.
If you like our show, please share it with other women who would benefit. And don't forget to leave us a rating on iTunes. We'd really appreciate it. And as always, we encourage you to take one action as a result of today's show and put it into motion so you can live both a financially free and balanced life. Thanks for spending time with us.
Ciao.